And you're live.
Thank you very much indeed. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the North West Area Planning Committee, meeting on the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Night, in case anybody hasn't missed all the fireworks going off all around the town. My name is Councillor Mark Durham and I am the chairperson of this committee. Members, we are streaming this meeting live as well as recording it, and by being present in the meeting you are giving your consent to being recorded during each item. Please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak, and I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Could I ask members to avoid approaching the top table, as this could create interference with the cameras and the live stream. Please note that the YouTube live stream sound recording is dependent on the correct use of your microphone. Therefore, can I ask that when invited to speak, you remember to turn on your microphone and turn it off when finished. Please reference a page or paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers, and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. You'll be glad to know we do not have any fire alarm testing scheduled for this evening. However, we may have periodic fire alarms, and I remind members to ensure that they sign in and out when entering the council offices. If you hear the fire alarm, please exit using either of the two marked fire escape routes, and once out of the building, please proceed to the designated muster point located on the grass verge by the police station entrance. Item 2, apologies for absence. Clerk, have we any apologies?
We have not received any apologies for absence.
Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. Councillor Siddle sends his apologies.
Okay, so we have Councillor Siddle. Apart from that, everybody is... Oh, yeah, Councillor Morgan. Councillor White. Councillor White, thank you very much indeed. Item 3, minutes. So it's recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of October, which are found in your members' update, are approved as a true record. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Morgan, I think you've got your hand up first. Thank you very much indeed. Can we take that agreement by assent? Thank you very much indeed. Item 4, declarations of interest to disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interest, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests relating to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for Members. And you are also reminded that you are required to disclose any such interest as soon as you become aware, should the need arise through the meeting. I will start with my declaration. I have a pecuniary interest in item 7, as I am the agent for that. I will speak as the agent for 2 minutes and then withdraw from the chamber, and the Vice Chairman, Councillor Thompson, will take the chair while members debate and determine that particular application. Item 5, we move to agenda item 5, which is found on page 7 to 40. Oh, I'm sorry, I've missed out something. I was going to introduce, we have a new Director of Place, Planning and Growth, Mark Jaggard, sitting to my left. He's met a couple of people. He introduced himself to me as the new Matt Winslow, but I'm sure Mr. Jaggard will establish himself. He's only been here a couple of days. I will just make an announcement. I know Ms. Bradley will as well, that item 5 on the agenda, land adjacent to Westerings in Purleigh. This is simply to agree due to the constitutional break from the minutes of the last meeting, so there will be no speaking on this. It won't be debated. All we are going to be doing is voting whether to accept the reasons for refusal as outlined in the report, but the officer will take us through that, which neatly brings me on to item 5, and over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. You'll probably recall, following a discussion at the committee meeting on the 8th of October, it was clear that members were minded to overturn the officer recommendation for these applications. Given the potential overturn, and in accordance with the Council's constitution, the constitutional break was invoked. The committee report prepared for this meeting was to provide advice to members on the potential reason for refusal. Now, as identified by members at the last meeting, the main area of concern was regarding the site being in an unsustainable location outside the settlement boundary with poor access to and provision of public transport. Section 2.4 on page 8 of the agenda sets out the suggested wording for a reason for refusal to address the concerns raised. If members are minded to refuse permission, there would also need to be a reason for refusal relating to the lack of agreed Section 106 agreement. Now, I can advise that a draft legal agreement has been produced and is likely to be agreed imminently, so this reason for refusal would likely fall away during the course of the appeal. Also, if members are minded to refuse the applications in accordance with the appeal protocol, the committee should nominate a member or members to represent the council at appeal. And as the Chair has just said, just to remind members, this isn't an opportunity to debate the merits of the proposal or add further reasons for refusal, but to agree the reasons for refusal as set out in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So members, I think that's pretty clear. You can see in 2.4 and 2.5 the reasons for refusal which echo what was discussed at the meeting on the 8th of October. So we are simply going to require to vote whether we are happy with those. Members, you may or may not know that all votes now taken in planning committees must be named votes or recorded votes due to a couple of incidents where the chairman has failed to or has miscounted members. So for our protection, all votes for all applications will now be on a named basis, which the clerk will call out your names in the usual fashion. So, members, we now come to the vote, and clerk, are you going to call out the names for voting, please?
Is the proposal to accept the reasons for refusal laid out in the report?
Well, I can hereby propose. I'm looking for a seconder. Okay, yes, we have a councillor Whiffin to second. So, members, you have that proposal. We will now go round and take the named vote.
So I'll read out the names of everyone in alphabetical order, and if you can say if you're for, against, or abstaining. So we'll start with Councillor Durham.
I'm sorry, Councillor Whiffin.
Sorry, I'm confused now already. Is this, so if we are voting to go with the officer's reasons for refusal, we would say that we're for?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I'll start again. Councillor Durham, are you for or against, or do you abstain?
I'm for.
Councillor Hughes.
I'm against.
Councillor Morgan.
Abstain.
Councillor Morley.
For.
Councillor Stevens.
I'm sorry, I'm going to open with a question then, because I'm starting to think I might have misunderstood this. If I say I am for this,
Then you are
I
agreeing.
am agreeing with the officer's
Proposed reasons for refusal.
Thank
Yes.
you. Sorry, for.
Councillor Thompson.
Abstain.
And Councillor Whiffin.
For.
Sorry, Chair, I've got that completely wrong. I'm for. I got it round the wrong way.
Okay, can we record Councillor Hughes as being for the proposal, please?
Yes. So at the end of the voting, we have 5 for, none against, and 2 have abstained.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So those reasons for refusal are accepted. We now need to have a nomination for a member or members to represent the authority should an appeal hearing take place. Open to nominations. Councillor Whiffin.
I don't mind nominating myself, should I say, provided I can take someone with me for advice, because I'm very
Have you a
inexperienced.
proposal for who that might be, Councillor Whiffin?
Yeah, either Simon Morgan or Jade, whoever.
Well, we need a proposal for a person
Simon.
to represent in conjunction with yourself, if provided that members agree that.
Mr. Chairman, I'll propose myself as to go with that.
Okay, so we have Councillor Morgan and Councillor Whiffin ask the people who are nominated to represent the authority at appeal. Do we need a named vote for that, or? I wouldn't have thought so, because it's only just nominating people. So members, are we in agreement? Can you show clearly that you're in agreement with Councillor Morgan and Councillor Whiffin to represent? You can vote for yourself, Councillor Whiffin. There you go. Yeah, that's unanimous. So yes, you are the nominated. Sorry. Who's?
I think we might have had one abstain.
Did we have an abstention? No, I don't. No, this is a gentleman's a member of the public.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Chair, I didn't
Yeah.
expect to see any.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. That concludes item 5. We now move to item, well, we'll just wait a couple of seconds while the members of the public leave. You're welcome, sir. Okay. This is you, Mr. Purvis, isn't it? It is. Councillor Morgan.
Yes, sorry, Mr. Chairman. Just wondering on the is it with regards to the second application with the appeal with regards to the non-determination? Is there any further action that we in this committee need to take in that regard?
Good question, because that was, yes, please do.
At this stage, we have a live appeal now because we've had the start. Well, yes, we've had the start letter sent through confirming that it will be a hearing. At the moment, we don't have a hearing date. So we do have the dates for the statement of case and various other pieces of information and material that needs to be submitted to PINS. So officers will need to liaise with both of yourselves regarding that and what needs to be submitted and when. Okay.
So just to be clear, sorry, through you, Chair, we will be dealing with both appeals at the same time, is that right?
No, there is just the one appeal. So application 00473 has been appealed due to non-determination. So that's the one that we've got a live appeal for at the moment. 474 has now been refused. They could appeal that, but I think as we discussed last time, I don't see why they would, because it's an identical proposal to the one that's already going through the appeal system.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so item 6 is land adjacent to Crispins, Roots Lane, Wickham Bishops, and that's to be found on pages 47 to 72. And Mr. Purvis is taking us through this one.
Thank you, Chairman. Could we have the presentation uploaded? Have I got to do that? Oh, here it is. My mouse. Yeah. Do you know the full screen button is? Here we are. Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. So this is an application that seeks outline planning permission with all matters reserved except for access. So access is for determination, along with the principal development, for 5 3-bedroom bungalows with detached garage for each one, and an access road, including a turning head within the access road in the existing drive. And the application site is located at the junction of Roots Lane and Grange Road, and is outside the settlement boundary of Wickham Bishops. It's in the grounds of a property known as Crispins, which is part of the residential curtilage of that property. That property, as you can see from the red line plan on there, is outside of the red line. It's in the same ownership, so it's actually in a blue line area, but that dwelling is there to be retained. It's not proposed for any demolition or anything. The proposal is for the development within the red line area, and I'll just come on to the plans to go through that. So this is the location plan. As I said, the blue line area there shows the ownership of the Crispin site. The red line is the application site. And this is the aerial photo of the site. You'll note it's a garden laid along, quite a large area of garden, but there are a number of trees along the boundaries and also some trees within the site as well. Some of those are to be removed as part of this application. This black line, just to give you an idea, that is the settlement boundary line for Wickham Bishops. Now this is an indicative layout plan, because layout and matters of scale, appearance and landscaping, they would form what's called the reserved matters. If planning permission were to be granted at outline stage, there'd be a further application process for approval of reserved matters that would deal with those matters of layout, scale, appearance and landscaping. But this information is obviously very helpful in terms of helping us assess the application, to get an idea of what the site could look like, to demonstrate how those dwellings could be laid out, how the access road can be laid out, how it links to the existing driveway here, and then the point of access onto the public highway, which is in Roots Lane, close to the junction with Grange Road. So this is a tree protection plan, just to give you an idea, because I mentioned the trees, and you see on the trees from the aerial photos, there's some photos of the site in a moment that you'll see that show these in more detail. There are, in terms of where the dwellings are going, there are some younger trees there that have been identified to be removed, but the trees along the boundary and those within the existing curtilage of the dwelling and those along the frontage of Grange Road would all remain and either be pruned or maintained in a way that allows them to be the development to develop around these trees. There's some root protection areas as well. That's what these yellow boxes are. So everything's been considered in terms of how the development could be developed in light of maintaining that tree-lined area, which obviously forms a very important part of the character and appearance of this street in this location. We've got some indicative floor and elevation plans on the next slide. So this gives you an idea of how the bungalows, detached bungalows, could be laid out in terms of their internal arrangements. They're 3 bedrooms, and that's the elevations of the bungalows as well. Now coming on to the photos, this is the site frontage photo. So this is Roots Lane here and the junction. You can see the start of this tree line there, which extends further to the left, as you'll see in a moment. That's the access, and I think this photo next is more helpful, gives you an idea of how that access looks at present, but obviously it would be amended to allow for, as the plans show, a more detailed access arrangement, and then there'll be a left-hand turn off of here that would then provide the access road to those bungalows. That's the existing dwelling to remain within the blue line area. And then this area here, so this is actually at the southern gates looking kind of northeast across the site. So I mentioned those younger trees that would be removed and felled to allow for the development. And then we'll just come on to some more photos to show as the road goes into a more rural setting in terms of the Grange Road there, and you've got the trees that follow that route along here, and that wraps around there and the site. And that's another image of the site with the house in the background. And then you've got the dwellings to the east. That's opposite side of the road to the access. And this is, as you saw, for the access is to the right here, and that's just to the south in Grange Road. And just further along, just outside the site, is the listed building known as the Grange. Just to make you aware, there is a members' update. Before I move on to the next summary slide, and that just takes you through some additional points on there. So there's the heritage consideration in terms of the impact on that listed building. There isn't any issue in terms of that following the advice of the conservation officer. And one of the trees within that tree-lined route, I don't think we can quite see it, it's just about here, is subject to a tree preservation order. It's an oak tree. That, along with all these other trees, are proposed to be proposed to remain in situ. There'll be some pruning works and things like that, but otherwise they would remain. And there's a condition that deals with that as well. The members update also cover some additional objections that have been received, and they're all listed in that members update document too. And then just to summarise, so the site is outside the, but adjacent to the defined settlement boundary of Wickham Bishops. Due to the council's 5-year housing land supply position, the tilted balance in favour of sustainable development applies. And then this takes into account the considerations of what's within Wickham Bishops as one of our larger settlements, larger village, as it's identified in the hierarchy of policy S8. So the village does have facilities and services and access to public transport, so it is considered a sustainable location. And that's also a view that's been supported by inspectors. Appendix A, I think it is, within the back of item 6, includes 2 sites there that are adjacent to the settlement boundary of Wickham Bishops, where decisions have been allowed on appeal for housing developments, and they're very recent decisions within the last year or two. That's obviously been another factor in the considerations as set out in the principal development section of the report. So the principal development is considered acceptable. 5 bungalows would contribute to local housing need. Access is for determination, and following consultation of the County Highways Authority is considered acceptable. The indicative layout plans and the proposed appearance of the bungalows are also considered acceptable and can fit within this site. In terms of impacts on ecology and biodiversity, there's conditions that can mitigate that side of things. And again, there isn't considered any residential harm or any harm to residential amenity. More details will come forward as a more detailed layout with the reserve matters to, again, have a second look at that in terms of impact on neighbouring properties and also the impact on the area and things like that. But from the information provided and the indicative layout plan provided and those elevation plans and bungalow floor plans, the scheme is considered acceptable. So the recommendation is to grant outline plan permission subject to the conditions in the report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Purvis. We have one public speaker who's already seated and ready to go. Are you an objector or a supporter, sir? Objector. Objector. Okay, so the system is that you have 2 minutes to put your to speak. We'll get the clock there, and 2 minutes is 2 minutes and is rigorously enforced.
Is it there yet?
It will be there very shortly.
I start when I see it, do I?
No, or you can. We will start the clock when you start speaking.
I'll just try and get this off the screen.
Okay.
Is the keyboard up? Is it not? There we go. Hang on.
There it is. So, as I said, when you start speaking, the clock will start counting down.
Thank you. Last night at the Wickham Bishops Parish Council meeting, I was advised by a senior parish councillor that it was not worth me turning up tonight and speaking, as members wouldn't reject an application that had been approved by officers. I hope that's not the case tonight. I believe I'm the resident that's probably most affected by this application, as I will have a T-junction for 6 houses close to my house, which is currently just the driveway to Crispins. We moved to Wickham Bishops 2 years ago for a quiet retirement, and our house being on the development boundary gave us some confidence against future development. The new T-junction will increase noise and disturbance to us and also reduce the value of our property. we're also concerned about the existing road being used in the future to gain access to the large field which is ripe for development behind Crispins. and the ransom strip proposed in the planning application, unless independently owned, doesn't protect the village from that. The parish council, by the way, has indicated that they would consider taking ownership of the ransom strip. I've tried to engage throughout with this planning application with the applicant, but it hasn't gone very well. With 5 seconds to go, I've finished.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Councillor Morgan, you called this in. I don't know if you wish to comment.
I did, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. I want to. This actually was. There was a previous application of for development on this site back last year, which was actually recommended by officers for refusal. And I'm just interested to know, through you, Chair, why the officers have decided to change their minds. What is the particular reason between the previous application and this one that has minded them to decide to seek its approval?
Mr. Davis, I think that one's down to you.
Thank you, Chairman. First and foremost, the new MPPF came out in December 2024, which changed the way the methodology was calculated for working out housing land supply for all local planning authorities, and consequently our housing land supply then changed to the point where we didn't have an up-to-date 5-year housing land supply. So as I mentioned in my presentation, it's set out in the report, following the guidance within the MPPF, the presumption in favour of sustainable development applies, and that's what we call the tilted balance. So we have to look at schemes that are for housing development with a tilted balance in favour if they're in a sustainable location. And as set out in the report, we've obviously looked at this in terms of Wickham Bishops being one of our larger settlements in terms of the facilities and services that are there, and the access to transport is adjacent to the settlement boundary as well. So we've considered this as a sustainable development. So that's been a shift compared to the reason of one of the reasons of refusal from last time as a result of that. So that is a material change. Further information has been provided with this application that has addressed other reasons of refusal. For instance, the Essex Rams payment has been made that demonstrates that the previous reason of refusal on no mitigation in terms of the impact has been addressed because that payment's been made. There's a lot more information on impact and considerations of the trees here. Again, that was an issue previously in that regard as well. I think the other reason of refusal, which also encompassed the principal development issue last time, included the urbanisation of the site. Now that's still going to be a consideration, but in the overall planning balance, which is what we have to weigh up here, and it's set out in the report, there's different weightings given to different aspects, and overall the weighting is tipped in favour of a recommendation of approval for this application as a result. I hope that helps, Chairman.
I hope it helps, Councillor Morgan. But
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair, then, are we saying that it's the MPPF change and that is the deciding factor that's made you change your mind? So if I posited the fact that we did actually have a 5-year housing land supply, and in view of the other developments in Church Road and Pippins, I invite you to speculate that you might actually decide to refuse this application?
It's an interesting point. Thank you, Chairman. It does obviously potentially change things from that point of view in terms of the strengthening of the existing local planning policies. But the MPPF is also set up about sustainable development. And in this location, it is a sustainable site. So I could stay here and take the view that even though it is outside the settlement boundary, if there isn't harm as a result and it's considered a sustainable development, the MPPF takes precedent over the local planning policies in that regard in terms of this scheme, and I would say I would probably be sitting here still recommending that for approval if everything else, like I've mentioned in terms of the other reasons, have been addressed in terms of this application.
Thank you. Was it just, Mr. Chairman, I'm just thinking that this is yet another situation where the lack of 5-year housing land supply is sort of proving tyrannical over the decisions that we are making in this, not just in this one, but in various other planning committees that the council is involved in. And there are other aspects to this. We do have those two other developments. I know Wickham Bishops is supposedly one of the larger ones, but it, I think, has had more than its share of developments that have been granted in this regard. I'm also concerned, as the objector has pointed out, that development in this area would encourage so development further over towards the back of Byron Drive, and I know, Mr. Chairman, you're familiar with that particular area, which would place intolerable strains on Grange Road. And I wonder if, Mr. Parsons, you would be able to indulge us and show, go back onto the presentation to show Grange Road. Yes, thank you. That is the road that development will sit on, and there is, in fact, beyond that, as some will know, a sort of further houses beyond the Grange. And I realise that it's not an aspect that you've been able to actually discuss as part of your decision here, but I believe the sustainability of using that as an asset, as an access is highly questionable, to say the least. And therefore, Mr. Chairman, I am proposing that we refuse this application. Do I have a seconder?
Okay. Any other members wish to speak? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. It's just questions, really. So this is an outline application. So could, through you, Chair, could we have confirmation that the number of properties could change and that actually there might not be bungalows at all? I ask that because I'm very attracted by the idea of bungalows. I know we need more bungalows. And I suppose a follow-through question is, would this be more likely to be approved if it were bungalows than if it were houses? But really, I'm not convinced. We might end up with 5 bungalows. Perhaps I could have some comments on that, please. Thank you.
Mr. Purleigh.
Thank you, Chairman. The description of development, which is on this slide here, does use the word bungalows, not dwellings. So this is a scheme for bungalows, and the indicative plans show that it would be bungalows that's being proposed here. If they wanted to come back for dwellings, 2-storey dwellings, for instance, it'd have to be a new separate planning application to do so.
So just to clarify for Councillor Stevens and other members' comfort. So yes, we have this old outline application issue, so that there would need to be a completely new application if anything other than bungalows was to be provided on this site.
That's correct, because the description development is so important with planning application. It is what they're applying for. If they wanted to do dwellings, it would be a separate new planning application.
Any other member wish to speak? No. So we have a proposal from Councillor Morgan. Sorry, Mr. George.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry. I just wanted to just pick up on what Councillor Morgan was stating about your proposed position about this. If this development were to be supported, it could sort of open the floodgates for other developments. I just want to say that that's not a matter that we can take into consideration in terms of how we would be determining this application. So I just want to make sure that that's quite clear. This development can only be considered on its merits and not the fact that it may be a launch pad for other schemes to come or use any other area outside of the application site as part of any future development. So I just need to be clear that that cannot be part of our reasoning. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, no, thank you. I fully take that point and understand. My particular aspect of, or if we're looking at it technically, is, and you'll have to help me out here, the is it paragraph 11D on the NPPF, and that I would take the view that this outweighs the benefit, and that would be my basis for, or is my basis for seeking to refuse this application.
Thank you, Chair. You're quite correct. It is 11D of the NPPF, in which the harm from the development would be such that it would outweigh any benefits. So we just need to be quite clear on what the harms are, because if members were to support a reason for refusal, clearly this would go to the constitutional break. I think this would be a case in which officers obviously would come back and explain from our perspective what we think are the implications for a refusal on that basis. But notwithstanding, if this were to go to appeal, then one would need to have, defendable reasons, or reasonably defendable reasons, to avoid any award of cost for unreasonable behaviour. So we need to be quite clear why we are refusing this. Thank you, Chair.
Which of course puts the onus on you, Councillor Morgan. You've proposed that we don't go along with the officer's recommendation for approval, so we would be looking for your reasons for refusal.
Do you want me to give them now?
I think it would be probably helpful.
Well, basically, they really form the basis of the reasons for why I wanted it called in and looked at, because I'm not satisfied with what has been stated, that we've answered the situation regarding it being outside the settlement boundary, but also the overdevelopment of the site and the urbanisation of an area, which I see has been dismissed, but I can't quite understand why. And also the detrimental impact it have on the existing or wildlife and existing trees in that particular specific part of Wickham Bishops.
Yeah, Mr.
I could add to that further, but
Okay.
Chair, I'm trying to help the committee, and so I think, and I'm sort of trying to help to focus in on those key elements which would reflect, as my colleague said, the fact that there isn't a 5-year land supply, and I know there's a couple of different calculations, but neither hit 5 years. The tilted balance then, as Councillor Morgan correctly says, kicks in, which is set, and the conditions of assessing that is set out in the National Planning Policy Framework in paragraph 11D 1 and 2. In terms of it isn't a protected landscape, so it doesn't fall under 11D 1, and 11D 2, very similar to the previous application, has 4 specific criteria on which to judge it. They might be written as long sentence, but it's about development in sustainable locations, making efficient use of land, securing well-designed places, and providing affordable homes. The reason why I sort of thought it was helpful to reflect, the one thing which does jump out from the site is it's just under half a hectare. It's 0.49 of a hectare, which means it's about 10 dwellings per hectare, which is a very low density, which would potentially give a reason to say it's not efficient use of land, reflecting both the policies and the NPPF and the local plan. But if you're going down that route, the solution would be to increase the density of the site. And that, from what you said, Councillor, might not be the direction you thought the committee would be taking it. I think there is, the National Planning Policy Framework suggests that developments under 5 or under half a hectare should not provide, or would not be expected to provide, affordable housing. There is, you could look at this site being artificially drawn as less than half a hectare by 0.01 of a hectare to mean that it wasn't providing affordable homes in accordance with the NPPF, and that a larger number of dwellings on this site would require affordable housing provision. Those are potential angles you may look at, but it would lead that the scheme potentially could come back with a large number of dwellings with provision of affordable homes on site, if those were the angles you'd want to do. In terms of the settlement boundary, I think, as my colleague said, given the fact that the tilted balance now applies, policies relating to land supply carry significantly less weight. Policies relating to settlement boundaries carry less weight because we need to look for opportunities to deliver homes. And impact on wildlife was not one of the criteria in 11D. I hope that's helpful, Chair and Councillor Morgan.
I think it probably was. It's very good to have a new pair of eyes on it. But Councillor Morgan, has that changed your view?
I fully appreciate the advice the officer has given. Thank you. But no, it hasn't.
Okay. So, members, we have that proposal. I'm not sure that we are clear necessarily on the reasons for refusal. I don't know if you want to highlight those again. I think we are into constitutional break territory again, but we will need your... Is that correct, Mr Purvis?
I would like to clarify the reasons for refusal. I would also like an opportunity to come back on some of the points that
Please
if
do.
that's all right, just because there was the same comments that the councillor used in terms of calling the application justified to come into planning committee. So we already talked about the settlement boundary issue, so I wasn't going to go into that. But reference to overdevelopment of the site, given this is quite a low density site and the parking can be provided that meets standards, the amenity space can be provided that meets standards, it doesn't lead to neighbour issues and things like that. It's very difficult to use the word overdevelopment when you've got a layout plan before you that is quite clear that everything can be accommodated within that site. So my advice would be not to use overdevelopment as a reason of refusal. The fourth bullet point about the detrimental impact on wildlife and existing trees, this application has been subject to consultation with place ecology and place services tree consultants, and neither of those have any objections. They are recommending planning conditions as mitigation, so they're not objecting to the application on those grounds. And if you were to use that as a reason of refusal, if you got in an appeal situation, an inspector would look at the consultee comments, and I would say he or she would go with the views of the consultees and say, well, actually, the mitigation that's identified through those consultee comments is sufficient enough to impose those conditions if he or she were to grant planning permission. The third bullet point in your, this is all on the, by the way, this is all on the page 47 in terms of the bullet points that I'm looking at, and Councillor Morgan's called in terms of the report. Should have mentioned that before, just so members are aware. The third bullet point says the result in the urbanisation of the area, currently rural in nature, and erode the character and appearance of this part of the village. Now that's part of a reason of refusal before, as you're aware. And that is recognised in the assessment of the report as a harm. Obviously, our recommendation and our planning balance, all the other weightings in terms of the benefits outweigh the harm. But if you're saying that's a harm, and also being at the settlement boundary linked to that as well is the harm that is outweighing the benefits, then that would be an approach you perhaps could go down the route of in terms of looking at as a reason of refusal. But again, it all comes with risks. If we were to go to an appeal position, an inspector may or may not agree with that, and if they doesn't, there's also the risks we have to consider about costs to the council as well. So we've got to have a strong reason of refusal to ensure we've got a good case in terms of an appeal position. I hope that helps.
Councillor Morgan.
Yes, well, I fully take those points, but at the end of the day, it's a subjective judgment, and I'm making my subjective judgment, particularly on the urbanisation and the fact that this outweighs the benefits of the development.
Okay, so that's basically the crux of your reasons for refusal.
Yes.
Okay, so members, are we quite clear? We don't have to get Councillor Maldon to repeat it yet again. So we have his proposal, seconded by Councillor Hughes.
Sorry, just to double check. So we're saying the urbanisation of the area, your third bullet point, to be used as a reason of refusal, and or not the one about the settlement boundary. That one as well. So we can combine those two bullet points to form a reason of refusal, which is similar to one of the reasons before, in terms of this one. Okay,
sorry, but just to point out, the officers refused this before quite successfully, so I'm interested to see that they could perhaps be a little bit more helpful doing it this time. Thanks.
It didn't go to appeal.
It didn't go to appeal. Okay, well, we shall see. So members, so we have the proposal to refuse this against officers' recommendation proposed by Councillor Morgan, seconded by Councillor Hughes. And we yet again need a named vote. So you will be asked whether you are for or against Councillor Morgan's proposal to refuse this application contrary to officers' recommendations. Are we quite clear on that before we do the named vote? Yes? Sorry, yep.
We may both have been asking the same question through you, Chair, which is, were you going to take the constitutional break, or do you think the reasons for refusal as proposed by Councillor Morgan are clear and there is no need for a constitutional break? It's just agreeing the reasons for a refusal without the break.
Is that permitted?
I mean, that's our decision. Point of order, Mr. Chair. I don't know if there's any. I mean, I'm open to.
I'm open to education here, but I wasn't aware that there was any sort of discussion that if we do refuse the officer's recommendation, the constitutional break would come in automatically.
I think Mr. Purvis has been checking on the wording.
No, just for clarification.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm sorry for the throat. There is the option for us as officers in a brief across the table consultation with the chair to not have to go to the constitutional break if we feel there is no purpose that will be served by it. And this is a course at which we have taken before. I think we are probably of the view that there's probably going to be no purpose in going for the constitutional break, and then we would just accept the members' vote on the application today, and that will be the matter that will then be taken forward.
I think that sounds like the pragmatic view. So
I'm happy with that.
Okay, thank you. So members, are we quite clear what you're being asked to vote for or against? Clark, so can we call out?
So, Chairman,
Yes.
sorry, Chairman, just before we
Sorry,
do that,
Mr.
we obviously talked about what the reasons would be. I just wanted to check that once we've got that reason, subject to consultation with yourself, you and the committee are happy for me to draft up a reason, consult with you before we go out and issue that decision in the future based on the settlement boundary and the urbanisation issue, as Councillor Morgan had said.
I think as Councillor Morgan has the proposer, he's happy. You're happy with that. So yes, we are voting not to invoke the constitutional break, provided, of course, that this is carried.
Got to vote on it first.
We have got to vote on it. So Clark, so members, just because we're really important that we get this right, you are being asked to vote for or against Councillor Morgan's proposal to refuse this application contrary to officers' recommendations. Clark.
So, Councillor Durham,
For.
Councillor Hughes,
4.
Councillor Morgan,
4.
Councillor Morley,
4.
Councillor Stevens,
Against.
Councillor Thompson,
Against.
and Councillor Wickham.
4.
The final vote tallies at 5 for and 2 against.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Morgan, your proposal is carried to refuse. Thank you very much. Yes. Oh, so yes, we're going to need a nomination for the appeal. Councillor.
I will volunteer myself.
I think that's a very magnanimous view. Thank you very much indeed. So yes.
Yes.
Happy with that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, members. Sorry, but I think it's really important that we get all these things straight. So we now move on to item 6, which is item 7. I do apologise. Yeah, so that's land at the Warren Lodge Park. And this is, I have declared a pecuniary interest. So after the officer's presentation, I will be making my statement, and then I will be leaving the chamber while Councillor Thompson takes the chair. You can do it. Yeah, you can do. Yeah, I think if it helps, so it saves the moving about. Okay. Even got your cushion ready, Councillor Thompson. I will come back after the vote to close the meeting. I'll just go out the back, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll leave all my stuff. Okay, Mr. Purvis.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is
That's you.
a site known as land at Warren Lodge Park, Herbage Park Road, Woodham, Water. It is a planning application seeking full planning permission for the construction of one concrete hard standing, onto which a new lodge within the grounds of this park would be sited, and this would be used for a manager or an employee or a designated contractor of the Warren estate to use in connections with the tourism use of this site, and the lodge would be obviously connected to services and would include one allocated car parking space. So this is a location plan, shows the red line all the way to the main road there, and you've got the site here, and then we'll just come on to the aerial photo. So as you can see, it's already developed with a series of lodges, as you'll see from other photos in a moment. There's a gymnasium building here, internal roads network around there. There is another access. If you follow the road around here, it comes to the main access road, which is just off the map here, which serves the Warren estate. And this is a more zoomed in location plan to give you an idea of the footprint of the concrete hard standing. And that's the block plan to show it. The parking area, you've got parking within the site for the uses. You've got other lodge buildings, lots of greenery. You've got the gymnasium type building there opposite. And then just give an idea of what the lodge would look like. So it's set on a concrete hard standing, typical of any type of lodge like this, and very much in keeping with other lodges, as you'll see in a moment, within the site. So it's a 2-bedroom unit for those purposes, and it has a decking area. And there's an example of one that's already exists. You'll see some more in a moment, but the proposal is to go within this location here. There's the parking for the gym and other uses, and this is one of the internal roads, and that's another picture just taken slightly to the right of the previous one. So in here is where the lodge would go. That's looking towards the gymnasium building, that car parking area you saw, and that's the opposite way. So again, it's going in this location where the cursor is, and then you can see the other lodge buildings, and that's another angle. There is a members update on this as well, just to really not to change the recommendation as such, but to identify that payment has already made towards the Essex Rams as an ecological mitigation requirement. So the recommendation in your report refers to a Section 106 agreement. There isn't a Section 106 agreement required for this. It is just would be a recommendation to grant planning permission subject to conditions. But just going through the summary there. So this is outside the development boundary of Woodham Water, but it is on a site that's surrounded by existing holiday homes, as you've seen, and lodges. The proposal would provide a lodge for the manager or employee or contract worker at the site, so it would provide a 24-hour use on site. There are a number of planning conditions within the report of how this could be used, and ensuring there is a break as well, like there are with other lodges on this site. The lodge building would appear similar to those within the site, and there are no objections in terms of impact on nearby lodges, highways, parking requirements or ecology. And the recommendation is for approval to grant planning permission subject to conditions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Purvis. So let's put the timer up, and then I'll. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Members, this is very straightforward. I have been asked to be the agent for this. To put it into context, there's 102 lodges on this large site, but there's no internal phone link. They have had health and safety issues on the site with emergency services that arrive that have been called, and it's very difficult to locate the actual lodge where the incident has taken place. This is why it's necessary to have somebody on the site permanently when the main building is closed, which is staffed during the day. In addition, there have been the odd, very infrequent issues of antisocial behaviour by lodge people, and the supervision that this lodge would provide would certainly be able to address that. There has been no objection from the parish council. The full reasons for refusal under 3.1.4 are very succinct. I would ask members to consider the condition 5, which imposes the 2-week closure similar to the other lodges, only on the basis that it could be considered that occupation all year round on this would be beneficial, because that person occupying it, and this would be conditioned to be a full-time or a member of staff of the estate, that this person could ensure that the 2-week closure is being observed by the other residents. That has been a potential enforcement issue, but that's entirely members for you to decide whether you agree with condition 5. As I said, this is principally a health and safety. It's a very small lodge. It is located immediately adjacent to the swimming pool building, and is ideally placed to carry out the uses that have been outlined. Thank you. And I will now hand over to Councillor Thompson, and I will step outside the back door. Thank you.
Whoops. Steady on, Chairman. Right. Members. Councillor Morgan.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This sort of set of lodges has been as the now departed Councillor Durham will know, has been a particular issue with regards to enforcement, with regards to the occupation of the lodges, with the suspicion, or the thought that they are actually effectively being used as permanent residences, and therefore the provision of a somewhere for a supervisor to go, and also the suggestion that that supervisor is able to stay there all the year round, so as to be able to assist in enforcing the 2-month lack of residence, which the other lodge members are supposed to observe, I think will make this will be of considerable benefit to this establishment, and therefore I propose that with that proviso with regards to the condition, that we accept the officer's recommendation to approve. Do we have a seconder?
Thank you. That's proposed by Councillor Morgan, seconded by Councillor Hughes.
Sorry, to be clear, that is with the 2 year, the full-time occupation.
With the deletion
condition.
of
Yes.
condition 5.
With the amendments to condition
amendment.
5.
An amendment, sorry.
Yes. What it says the lodge. It's probably deleting it, actually, looking at it.
It doesn't seem to refer to anything except the days.
No, so if we delete that, it becomes a 365-day-a-year lodge.
Yeah.
So the only
Mr.
point,
Johnson.
the only point I wanted to just be clear on is that the occupation of the premises, because that condition 3 also states that used as a manager or employee, etc., etc. You can probably help me here, Chris, if that is reflected elsewhere. I'd be surprised if it was, but I'd be concerned if that element of the condition was removed.
We're not proposing to amend condition 3. Condition 3 would remain, right, which is crucial to this, because it means this lodge would be used by a manager or employee or designated contract worker of the Warren Estate. So that's absolutely fine.
That's fine.
Vital.
That's clear. Thanks.
Sorry, Councillor Hughes, then Councillor Stevens.
Sorry, I think Councillor Stevens was before me.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, no, I just agree with everything Councillor Morgan has said, and I don't see any reason why we should refuse the application.
thank you. Councillor Stevens.
questions from me as usual, sorry. In the proposal it says construction of a concrete hard standing onto which a new lodge will be sited. So just to be clear, are we agreeing the hard standing or the lodge as well, please? Thank you.
Mr Purvis.
We're agreeing both, but if you look at one of the conditions, which, because this is like a caravan site, or rather, trying to work out how to explain this, there's the Caravan Sites and Control of Development Act, which allows for a hard standing and then a caravan of a certain size, or a lodge in this case, can be put on there. So if we approve this, we're approving the base, the concrete hard standing, and then the lodge. But it also means that if the lodge needs to be replaced with another one in the future, it can, if it falls within the definition of the caravan size licence, the act for the caravans. Get the term right again.
Yes, go.
Okay, so we agree this, and because we're also talking about changing the conditions, we're agreeing a dwelling, because my lodge is your house, so I don't understand what I'm agreeing anymore.
It would, in fact, I'm just double checking through the planning conditions here. So we've got condition 3 that requires it to be used by an employee or someone at the site, so not anyone can live there or stay there. Should not be used for short or long-term holiday uses. Yeah, the condition 5, because it had that, if we're removing that, we're removing that 2-week window of opportunity where there's a break. By all intents and purposes, it would be a dwelling, but with that 2-week break in condition 5, someone couldn't live there all year round. If we remove condition 5, someone could live there all year round, but that would need to be someone that's working at the Warren estate, such as those in condition 3, a manager or an employee. So in short, yes, it would be a dwelling for someone to live there, but it would be someone that's working at the site.
I don't feel comfortable about that. I'm not understanding really why we would remove that condition. It feels like we're slipping from one application into another one. I don't think that's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other one? Councillor Whiffen.
Sorry, so the removal of that condition would only apply to that particular lodge, would it not?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
I think I'm agreeing with both your interpretations. It would by effect then become a normal C3 dwelling, but with an occupational condition similar to a agricultural worker's dwelling, or the type of thing where you've got the dwelling is linked to a certain occupier who's only allowed to live there. But in terms of, it's a small contribution, but if you take away all the restrictions, it then would become a C3 use and add to our housing stock, and would have to pay council tax, I imagine.
That's interesting. Any other member? No. So we have the proposal on the table made by Councillor Morgan that we accept the officer's recommendation with the exception of condition 5. We do need the recorded vote. So Mr Bowles, could you read the roll call, please?
Yes, Chair. So we're going to start with Councillor Hughes,
Agree.
Councillor Morgan,
4.
Councillor Morley,
4.
Councillor Stevens,
4.
Councillor Thompson,
4.
and Councillor Whiffen.
4.
We have 6 for, 0 against, 0 people have abstained.
Thank you. So that item is agreed as discussed. So Councillor Durham did say he was going to come back in and close the meeting, but yes, why don't you call him? Thank you. What have you done it again?
I'm getting excited here.
Be gone in a minute.
I don't know which is which. There you go.
There you go.
Just trying to get a bit of excitement considering it's firework night. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Councillor Thompson, for chairing that while I was outside. So the final item on the agenda, urgent items of business. You'll be glad to know there are none. So I'm happy to close this meeting at 8:34. Thank you.